Hi, Dr. Phil. My name is Linda Landon. I'm Holly Landon's mother. Holly has, we were asked to do a video, so I wanted you to know a little bit about Holly. Holly is, Holly has an opioid addiction and has had it since 2012. Before all of this, Holly was just a regular person, very sweet, very virgin, and had never had any kind of drugs, no alcohol, no marijuana, no cigarettes. She was 4 years on the swim team at Lake Forest High School, and although she struggled with her weight, she was always conscious as to what she should eat and not eat, and what she should do and not do to stay healthy. Um, Holly um, In 2012, Holly, um, January 2nd, 2012, Holly started complaining to me about having some upper back pain. And I said, well, where does it hurt? Show me. So she pointed to between her shoulder blades and then kind of at her sternum. And I said, okay, well, let's just wait and see what happens. So an hour goes by and I was like, Holly, how are you feeling? And she was like, Mom, I don't feel that good. It's getting worse. I said, well, you let me know if you think it's bad enough that we need to take you to the hospital because you look fine on the outside. And she had never really complained of anything much in her entire life, except for being hungry. But a little while after that, Holly said, Mom, I think you need to take me to the hospital. I'm not feeling better. As a matter of fact, I'm feeling worse. So took her to the hospital, and they did some blood tests and told me that her amylase and lipase were severely elevated in 6 and 7,000 range, and that she needed to be admitted. They were going to do an ultrasound of the abdomen, which they did. They didn't really see too much there, so they admitted her just based on her pain and her blood work, and they scheduled GI series for the next morning, of which they went and they did an endoscopy and a colonoscopy. And during the procedure, Holly hemorrhaged, um, started bleeding in both ends, vomiting blood and diarrhea. Her red count dropped drastically. They had to give her blood transfusions. They put her in the intensive care unit. She really turned critical real fast. They didn't know where it was coming from. They had no idea. So they were obviously doing blood work on a very hourly basis, and she was critical. Um, she was at Lake Forest Intensive Care Unit for 4 days, and then transferred to Northwestern University Hospital. And during the time that from the time she entered into the emergency room, they gave her opioids, dilaudid, morphine, alternating, dilaudid, then an hour later morphine, then an hour later dilaudid, then an hour later morphine. And I was concerned about it because I said, isn't this too much for her? I mean, what is going on here? I mean, and they were like, pancreatitis is very, very painful. And she probably needs this much. So I didn't know any different, and I went along with it. Holly was 19, 20, in first year of college. Anyway, they transferred her by ambulance to Northwestern University Hospital in downtown Chicago, where they continued to administer fluids, IV meds, dilaudid morphine, dilaudid morphine, dilaudid morphine. I mean, it was continuous, and continued to do tests. They wanted to do an ERCP, but they wanted her somehow they had found out that her pancreas, there was a problem with her pancreas, and that she had a cyst, a Santorini cell cyst, that was located at the base of her duodenal area of her stomach, over the bile duct to her pancreas, and that it was blocking all the fluids, and it had hemorrhaged. So with that, you know, they decided they needed to do put a stent and to try to remove as much of that cyst as possible. And they did tell me that because of that, that she would end up getting a more severe case of pancreatitis. So they did it. She hemorrhaged when they were doing it, and so they had to stop the procedure. And of course, they continued to administer pain meds over and over again. She was at Northwestern University Hospital a couple of months or 6 weeks, something like that, in special care, intensive care, special care. And after they had gone inside and they had tried to remove the Santorini cell cyst, they did put a stent in there. They did successfully do that, and they did reduce some of the hemorrhaging, and I think she started to heal a little bit. So and the Dr. Kaswani was very upset because he said he had hoped he could remove the entire cyst, but it didn't happen. She couldn't tolerate it. Um, so after 6 to 8 weeks, she was released from the hospital, and of course, they had all the way up to the day she left given her IV meds, and then they switched her to Vicodin and 10 milligrams, 300, and so they discharged her with that medication, and that medication was, I think, 100 to 180 pills. She was supposed to take 1 to 2 pills every 4 hours as needed. Anyway, Holly went through those pretty quickly. And of course, they refilled them and refilled them and refilled them. They continued to refill those prescriptions for at least another year. And then on and off, they were filled. And Holly, this is when sort of realized that there was a problem. Holly went to the ER a lot, and when she went to the ER, they would hit her up with Dilaudid immediately and morphine, and then even without knowing if there was really a problem, but they treated what she said was the symptom, which was pain, pain, pain. And with her history, I'm sure that they felt that was the right thing to do, but it wasn't, and it should never be. There's a lot of people who go into the emergency rooms pretending they have pain and they just want the medications. And that's what Holly started becoming, that person that would go to emergency rooms, get drugs, and get pills. Get drugs and get pills. And then she would go from doctor to doctor. I mean, she would go from state to state. She would travel. She would travel from Illinois to Indiana, Illinois to Wisconsin, Illinois to Iowa. When we were in Connecticut, she would travel from Connecticut to New York, New Jersey. She would study the laws of who's calculating who's the drugs that they're dispensing. This has gone on continuously. And then, of course, she got medication other places continuously. She has been in and out of rehab, and nothing's working. And her life, they say your brain is still forming. Young 20s. And I don't know, maybe it permanently damaged her brain because now she's a different person. She used to be all happy and bubbly all the time and sweet and innocent. Now she's manipulative and driven by one thing, and that's where am I going to get my next pill? She, she's seeking pleasure in every area, and this leads me to this international relationships that she's pushed herself into. She met a guy in. Oh, my husband is here. Okay, where am I at? My husband was calling me. Anyway, she started on this international website of International Cupid, I think it is. And she met this guy named Kaoma from Brazil, who he told her the right things, and she fell in love with him without knowing him because she had a hole to be filled and it was an emptiness inside. And additionally, Holly has a very low self-esteem and a very low self-image because she's overweight and she feels unattractive and unwanted and she's not ever good enough. So this guy was telling her, oh, we'll get married, this and that and the other, and I love you, and you're my life, and by the way, can you send me $150? I need it for this. I have cancer of the testicles or something. I don't know. He told her everything in the world. She sent him money, and a lot of times the money came from me, which I didn't know she was sending him money initially, but she fessed up. So she had submitted her story to TLC's 90 Day Fiancé, and they wanted to hear her story, and they heard her story and interviewed her and talked to him and decided they wanted to film her and produce the story for TV, TLC. So they did start filming, signed a contract, there was money exchanged, um, did background checks on Holly, which she passed perfectly. She does not have a criminal record. Background checks on Kioma initially, and he was fine. Paid for the round trip tickets to Brazil, Sao Paulo, and they flew out there. And when they were out there, they were filming, and then something came up about something in Kaoma's background about him being accused or convicted of sex with a minor, a 13 and 14-year-old. And this guy was supposed to be an English teacher in the school system. I don't know if it's true or not. He claimed that it wasn't. Of course, they all claim it wasn't. Anyway, somehow that blew it up for TLC. They called Holly up the same day that she had quit her job because she was leaving the next day for Brazil. She quit her job. She was assistant front end manager of Fresh Market and doing well there, but she quit her job and she felt devastated, totally devastated. She went into a downhill spiral. Um, she threatened suicide a few times. In the meantime, she pulled herself together, but still searching for these medications and opioids because it's she's been very honest with me. Mom, I need my drugs. Mom, I need my drugs. Mom, I need my drugs. I need my medicine. I can't function. I can't go to work. If I don't get my medicine, I'm not going to work because I can't function. And maybe she can't. I don't know. But I would say she can't. She went back on International Cupid and she found another guy who she fell in love with in Turkey. His name is Gunesh, and Gunesh appears to be a nice fella. He hasn't asked for too much money, maybe $50, maybe $100, I don't know. But he speaks with her daily, and he supposedly wants to come over here and marry her, and she wants that because she feels as though no one will love her for who she is, and especially with her drug problem. And she's, I think she's bipolar because she does things to extremes, and that's another thing. She goes high and she goes low, and she's on some medication right now because as people started cracking down on the opioid epidemic, it became more difficult for Holly to get drugs. And of course, she's gone to many, many places for those drugs. And I told her, I said, Holly, you can't do this for the rest of your life. You got to get off these things. You're a young woman. You won't be able to have children. You could die. You take all these drugs over the counter. It's like she's trying to block so much in her, inside of her. She doesn't want to feel who she is. And it's a sad situation. You know, the opioids have, and I don't want, this is Holly's story. I don't want anything to do with this. But I have taken these drugs because I had back surgery, and I can tell you that they're highly addictive. And it's a shame because they make you feel like everything in the world is okay and there's no problems and life is good while you're on them. I know. But one thing that you lose with these drugs is you lose motivation to improve yourself because you have no motivation for anything but the drug. I have, I'm getting back off to the drug, but I have filed a claim with the state of Illinois. Well, I'm filing it right now, and the state of Connecticut and the state of New Jersey against the opioid crisis because, and I probably should file in all the other states that she received drugs from, maybe Wisconsin, Indiana, Pennsylvania. I mean, it's been the stream from the East Coast to the Midwest of states because we are from Westport, Connecticut, and moved from Westport, Connecticut to Lake Forest, Illinois. And that's another whole deal. My husband and I met because we've both been in commercial real estate, and he's an attorney um, in real estate, and I was in real estate and a vice president of CB Richard Ellis. But anyway, that's another story. In 2008, when the shit hit the fan with all the mortgages and refinancing, we lost almost everything that we had because we were not just brokers and real estate individuals for others. We had our own development business and we were buying. We lost it. So with that, I hope this is enough for you to understand something of what's going on, and I hope this video is good for you.